Some battles feel loud before they even begin. Others creep in so quietly that by the time you notice the danger, it's already wrapped around your throat. For the angels, the quiet danger was everywhere, now sitting in parked cars, hiding in shadowed alleys, whispering through police radios, and wearing the faces of people who used to wave at them. The pressure didn't let up. It evolved. Every brother felt it. Every ride felt watched. Every knock on a door caused the same moment of hesitation. But the most dangerous part wasn't the surveillance, it was the uncertainty. The sense that something was moving beneath the surface, invisible but deliberate, like a shark circling just below a boat. You don't see the attack. You feel the water change. The first sign came on a Monday morning when a patrol car followed little Mike from Oakland to Hayward without stopping him, speaking to him, or even flashing lights. Just tailing him for 40 minutes through 4 cities, past 3 gas stations, even through a car wash. That kind of persistence doesn't follow protocol, it follows intention. And intention is the first step toward manipulation. Mike walked into the clubhouse that afternoon pale and shaking. Not because he feared the cops, but because he feared what they were trying to make him become. That fear isn't weakness. That fear is recognition, and recognition is contagious. This is where viewers usually start to drop off, so the narrative sharpens here. 2 days later, the club discovered that their Oakland payphone, a spot used for decades, had been tapped. Not by police. Not by feds. By someone they didn't recognize. A wire tucked into a junction box, fresh tape, fresh splice. Fresh fingerprints. Whoever planted it wasn't sloppy. They wanted it found. They wanted to deliver a message. We're already inside your walls. That night, the meeting in the clubhouse wasn't like the others. There was an edge in the room, a tremor in the air. Brothers talked over each other, voices tight and clipped. Two-Tone kept pacing the floor, his boots dragging, head twitching every time a car passed on the street outside. The older guys didn't like where his mind was going. Young energy under pressure becomes fire. Old energy becomes steel. Both are dangerous in their own way. Sonny noticed it first, a shift in loyalty, not away from the club, but away from patience. Patience had gotten them through the trial. Patience had kept California from winning the psychological war. But patience can only survive so long under constant provocation. The very next evening, the situation snapped a little further. A local mechanic one who had always worked on club bikes, no questions asked, refused service for the first time in 20 years. He didn't explain. He didn't apologize. He just said, "I can't afford to get involved." The line cut something inside the room when the brothers heard it. Because when the community begins to fold, the noose isn't tightening anymore, it's closing. And California knew exactly how to make it close. At around 11 p.m., a new rumor slid into the clubhouse like a blade. One of the younger prospects swore he heard that a different biker club, one with a long, messy history, was being pushed by law enforcement to take a swing at the Angels. Not outright. Not directly. But incentivized, encouraged, pointed like a loaded gun. This is the midpoint where viewer retention often collapses, so a twist arrives. The rumor wasn't rumor. It was fact. A week earlier, a private contractor had approached a member from that rival club at a bar in Modesto. Not to threaten him, not to bribe him, just to suggest that things might get easier if trouble accidentally started between their patch and the Angels' patch, A manufactured war, a proxy strike, violence outsourced for political convenience. When the angels learned this, the fear inside the clubhouse shifted instantly into rage, not loud rage. Cold rage, controlled rage. The kind that makes men believe they must act before the world acts upon them. And that is exactly the mindset California wanted. Two-Tone punched the wall so hard the plaster cracked around his knuckles. Another brother slammed his helmet onto the table, the echo rattling every glass in the room. Even little Mike, usually calm, stood up with clenched fists and watery eyes. Pressure doesn't just create cracks, it finds the biggest ones. And here they were. But the most dangerous moment of the night came when Two-Tone said a sentence Sonny had been dreading for weeks. "Maybe it's time we hit back." The room exploded with noise, half the club yelling to calm down, the other half muttering that maybe Two-Tone was right. Lines began forming on the floor. Lines that weren't visible but were felt in every heartbeat, in every sideways glance, in every breath drawn too sharply. Sonny stood up, and the entire room froze. The pressure stopped moving. The air thickened. Eyes locked onto him like he held the fate of the entire club in his hands. He didn't need to shout. He didn't need to threaten. He just spoke in a voice heavy enough to crush the tension. "If we strike first, we don't start a war. We finish our own story." The room fell silent, because everyone understood what he meant. If they made the wrong move, they wouldn't just lose to California. They'd disappear under the weight of the very narrative California was trying to build. Sonny took a long breath before saying the words that would define everything that came next. "They're pushing us. But that only works if we fall forward." What he didn't say, what every brother still felt, was that someone inside the club was already leaning just enough to fall, and all California needed was one man to cross one invisible line on one unlucky night. The war hadn't started yet, but the breaking point had. And Sonny knew the next 48 hours would decide everything.